And I will say, I don't know what number 4 is, but it's not as good as number 5 in our blind.
Oh,
So go
really? I
yeah, number.
love number four.
Oh, I do not.
This
Number
is
5
a
takes
this
number 4.
number four to me is it's a bit more of a classic rye.
Yeah.
It's got this honey green tea note on the palate or on the nose
Mhm.
rather, and then the palate is this lemon drop. I had a great
Oh,
uncle that he carried in his truck on the farm, carried those hard lemon drop candies, and so it's like every time I saw Uncle Frank, I went and got a lemon drop. And to me, this is a lemon drop. So it transported me back to those days.
no, it's all green tea for me, and I'm not a green tea fan, so I'm putting
Mm.
5 over 4.
Green tea is good for you. It's like high in antioxidants or
Yeah.
something or other. I don't know, but
All that
I
silly
like
stuff.
this. I think this could be a classic rye.
It's
Maybe
interesting.
that's a teasing of what's to come.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do number 7 also, or
Oh, that is a
our number 3 sample here.
delightful nose. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, that's
Wow.
got what is that, like a caramel
Caramel. It's like a
butterscotch?
melted Werther's. Like,
Yeah, a little bit
yeah.
lighter than a Werther's. Not quite so rich, but
Oh, but that's yeah. That blows 4 and 5 out of the water. It's like, oh, now we got to
yeah,
the big
we
boys.
were arguing about 4 and 5, and then we sampled this one and was like, okay, it's just bygones be bygones. TJ, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
A little oak in the
Woo.
background.
Yeah.
Oh,
Little
that palate's
hay.
interesting though. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
There's like the I didn't pick that up at all in the notes, but the palate
Yeah.
comes through with a little hay.
Yeah, definitely. But in a good way, not a bad way.
You get a little bit of that straw initially, but that kind of fades. I get more of a clove and allspice in the finish. Um, that's what's interesting to me is the dichotomy between the nose and the palate and finish. The nose is
Mm-hmm.
completely different. You didn't pick up any of those notes on the nose.
Yeah.
I get
That is
maybe a little bit of a new oak finish on this. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this is a finished rye.
I just know that is delicious. And if you could pick up a bottle of that, you would be a very, very happy individual.
Happy, 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 happy.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, I'll go ahead and introduce mine as we
Yeah.
sample these last two. Um, so Bardstown submissions, your Furculin wasn't the only one.
Oh,
So what was absent in our best of bourbon, we didn't have. Oh, I guess you had submitted the Bardstown Fusion, so we did have one Bardstown
Mhm.
submission.
And it did
I did
really well, actually.
surprisingly well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, teaser of maybe some future ratings. TJ says the Origin series
Yeah, I've got both of them.
might be better than the Fusion.
They're going in for best of 2023 without a doubt.
So anyway, this is the Bardstown Founders finished in KBS stout barrels. Which if you're a beer, TJ and I were both beer fans before we came to
Yeah.
bourbon and whiskey. And KBS was one of our favorite stouts.
Oh yeah.
And this is finished in the stout barrels, and so we pick up some of those chocolate notes, those rich notes that kind of come from that. This is honestly, like, I'd had some beer finishes prior to this that were terrible, but the KBS delivered. So
Yeah.
well done, Bardstown. Another Bardstown is Bardstown Discovery 8. So I blinded both 7 and 8. And the reason these are in the best of whiskey is because, as opposed to the other Discovery series that were only bourbons, so a blend of straights, this one actually included a blend of both corn whiskey and rye. So this has a little bit of 6-year Indiana rye included. So that's why it's in the best of whiskey instead of the best of bourbon. I liked Discovery 8 instead of 7. A little bit more like strawberry notes, a little bit more fruit. This one was just I put in for fun. to be honest. So this is Obtanium. Light whiskey. So light whiskey is something, this is hazmat proof. So this is coming in at 145 proof. 100, if I can do math, 145.6 proof. Canadian whiskey, distributed by Cat's Eye Distillery in Iowa. I don't know that it really was dessert. I'm curious. What did TJ think of this? Was it just way too hot? Was it just?
I probably thought it was like 95 proof.
Probably.
Usually when you get that high of proof, I'm like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah.
Which is not good for my liver.
No, not if you're going to drink a fair amount of it. Maybe we need a dry January.
Ooh. Okay. All right. And that's a Calvados, right?
So this is finished in a Calvados. Yeah.
Okay,
so this is
that makes
Blood
sense
Oath
now.
Pact 8, finished in Calvados.
All right.
So this comes in at a little bit lower proof, only 98.6 proof. I thought it was very good. I mean, obviously I submitted it in my best of. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
The Untitled I have is Calvados. And so I tasted as I'm going through this, I was like, did Chuck send the same bottle as I did? Because it's totally Calvados. Also, it's really good. And if it comes out to be that Blood Oath, I'm going to be so sad I didn't buy a bottle when I had the chance. We'll see.
I don't think it is, TJ, because I think what you were picking up is Calvados. The Blood Oath is very good, but it's at 98 proof.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's a little bit lighter. So I think what you were picking up was Untitled. This is Untitled number 19.
Okay.
And this is because I don't have this memorized, 11-year bourbon finished separately in Kirschwasser Cherry Brandy, Outer Banks Distilling Rum, a Bordeaux-style red blend red wine, Amontillado Sherry, and a Muscat wine.
Ooh.
So there's actually, the Sherry Brandy would be something that could be similar to a Calvados. Brandy, Calvados, cognacs, those are all essentially brandy distilled from grapes. So I suspect this is what you're picking up as Calvados, but I guess our final ratings will determine. Yeah. I think this was pretty good. This is one where I had a few Untitles from the year. They do a few releases throughout the year, and I picked number 19 as my favorite of their standard releases. I also had the single barrel finished in Calvados cask that TJ submitted. I would have put that ahead of the 19, this number 19 in the blind that I did.
But I called it.
But we're equitable and we try to do things.
And I try to win occasionally.
This isn't a competition, so
it is a competition.
There we go. Anyway,
Chuck won best of bourbon. I'm trying to win best of whiskey.
Actually, well, so that's a good lead in. So it's like I gave you the Calvados, and on the other side, I took our Starlight Double Oaked. So this is the Power Bourbon Starlight's Double Oaked rye pick that we did in June. This is just amazing. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't even claim myself as a rye fan. This is better than if you're a bourbon enthusiast and and don't even necessarily like ryes, this is for you.
Yep.
It is double oaked, but it doesn't have any of those strong, just astringent young oak flavors that typically come with that new oak finish. And it mellows or softens some of those classic rye notes that for us as a bourbon drinker, this just hits.
Yeah.
So it is more than deserving. We're not just putting it in here because it's our own single barrel pick. We were super lucky on this.
Oh yeah.
It is well worthy. And we won't, other people will tell you the same thing. It's not just us, but so that was our Starlight pick. continuing the rye theme, I'll go to, this is just like, I included some $200 ryes that I purchased within the last calendar year, and
Wait.
Rare Breed Rye beat them out.
You put a $200 rye in?
No, I'm saying in the blinds prior to submission.
I guess I was hoping
my
like,
pre-work.
We could say I didn't put the most expensive in.
No,
All right,
you totally did. The most expensive bottle I have is the Bardstown's. But this beat it out. This beat out the Kentucky Owl Rye, which is at least $200, if not more.
Oh yeah.
And this comes in at, you can find this for $50 or $60.
Yeah.
So this was my favorite rye of what I sampled in the blinds. So I was like, hey, even though it's you can find this regularly, not necessarily a limited release, not a single barrel, nothing particularly special in that sense. I was like, hey, it's very worthy of being in here, and I was very curious to see how it would do. So this was part of my submission. Okay, last submission is, I mean, come on,
of course, yeah,
it's got to be. We got Bardstown, we got Barrel. Yeah. It's a Chuck best of submission, but this is totally worth it. Barrel Vantage was amazing. Our favorite. We did Toasted Flight. Barrel Vantage came out on top. Mm-hmm. This is very worthy. Now this is no rye included in the distillate. This is bourbons finished in 3 different casks: Mizunara, French, and Toasted American Oak. The reason we didn't put this in the bourbon is we don't know if this is, it says it's a blend of straights finished in, but we don't know if these casks are first use casks or second use casks. Yep. Are they charged? So that's why we ended up putting it in this category as opposed to in the bourbon. And we feel good with that submission. Yep. I think that's the right way to go. If we don't know, let's put it in this instance or in this category.
Exactly. And I'm willing to say, and I know you are too, if you see a Barrel Vantage, buy it. If you don't have one,
you should have it on the shelf. I would buy batch 33 before you bought Vantage, but then if you leave the store, you should turn around, go back and buy Barrel Vantage.
Yeah. And Vantage is going to be a go-to that they always
it should be a standard release, kind of like the Seagrass,
Dovetail, everything like that.
Armida, yeah. Are you on to number 2 now?
Oh, I've already figured out my flight. Number 2 is delicious, but number 1 takes the cake without a doubt.
Yeah, I like number 2. I mean, the nose is like the slight apple.
Yeah, but with some deep char back there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, and then the palate's leads to this little bit of it's like a leathery fruit.
Yep.
Oh, but the nose on holy smokes.
Number 1, just so, and I will say this because I have a very good idea of what number 1 and number 2 are. If you don't like cognac or Armagnac, you're probably not going to like number 1 and number 2. But number 1 and number 2 are so the nose is so amazing.
The nose on number 1 is more Armagnac than number 2. I think there's a lot more gone or differences on number 2. But that said, depending on what Armagnac is, or cognac for that matter, those are very broad categories.
Yeah,
very diverse. So I'd even if what you had if you had an Armagnac, you're like, I don't like Armagnac, but you like bourbon, don't listen to TJ. You should check out number 1.
Mm-hmm. It's a deep bourbon nose, but with lots of grape and age.
That's very good.
It's just so good and unique.
But it gives you some of those caramel and vanilla notes from the barrel that I think number 2 lacks. That's where I think there's this rich creaminess.
Yeah.
Vanilla butter, almost like a buttery note that goes along with some of those those finishing notes that are likely coming from a brandy finish. I mean, honestly, all 5 of these were very good. I love the chocolate finish on number 5.
Mm-hmm.
So are we ready to, like, was there any, honestly, to me, there was no change from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I took 5 over 4.
Yeah, I disagree. So we're going to go with the original ratings.
Okay. So there you go. All right. So we have introduced our submissions. We have disagreed on our last place.
That's typical.
But nobody cares because it's last place.
Well, last place, it's not last place. We had 16 submissions. This is number 5. So this is our top 5.
Yeah. To be honest, like any of these top 5, you'd be happy with if you truly appreciate bourbon, whiskey, and everything like that. So,
otherwise, why are you watching this channel?
Yeah, that is a good question. But yeah. So anyway,
TJ's dashing good looks now.
Yeah, no. Though I'm running, and
I've noticed you slimmed down.
I'm
a bit.
rowing,
I thought it was a camera.
I'm rowing. I did buy a new lens, so it is the super slim lens. It makes me look sexy. So yeah. So other than that, tune in Thursday because I'll release this video Tuesday, and we will rank our top 16
whiskeys
of 2022. So
2022.
Cheers. And we'll see you next time.
Stay neat. Power bourbon. See you soon.